If you could ask a funeral director anything, what would you ask?
I looked in the rear vision mirror just in time to see the casket slowly gathering momentum and disappearing out the back.
Do you break your legs when you put them in a casket?
If you met the person who would eventually embalm you, what would you want to know?
Do we suck the blood out? Is an interesting one, which I don't sort of know the logistics of that because we're not vampires.
I've only been close to actually losing my stomach contents probably twice.
It's usually the biggest conversation stopper or starter.
Tonight, come behind the scenes of the grief industry.
You're making a small incision in the neck here. You're aiming for the carotid artery.
I've uplifted quite a few people that have died on the toilet.
And meet some of the people who could be preparing you for whatever it is that comes next.
My mum, I think, went for a time telling all of her friends that the reason I got into it was to do the cosmetics.
At 17, Chris Mann was a couple of years too young for the traffic police. He needed a job to fill the gap, and at his grandfather's funeral, he got his calling.
Like the sight of a casket sitting on the trolley and things like that. And we carried the casket out and the tailgate went up into the hearse, and I thought that might be an interesting career.
Did it feel like you were indulging in some sort of morbid fascination?
Yeah, it did to start with, I suppose.
In a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
He joined a funeral home as an assistant, washing hearses, assembling caskets, helping dress the deceased, pretty much anything that needed to be done, including police call-outs.
That's one thing I was amazed at when I first went into the industry. In the first couple of drink drive fatalities that I was attended as a funeral director was the smell of alcohol. And I mean, sometimes you could be 50 to 100 metres away from the accident and you could still smell the alcohol. It was quite a powerful aroma.
Not knowing what you're in for. I guess that's why I love police calls the most as well, is you get that call, the adrenaline starts.
Like Chris, Darlene Taylor's introduction to the industry came from a family bereavement.
The embalmer had done a wonderful job, and just hearing that Nana looked so good, it made the world for Dad, so I wanted to do something for other people.
But it wasn't so much an interest in funeral directing. Darlene's real passion is embalming. What actually is embalming?
It's injecting in your chemical so that you can preserve the tissue, so that when someone does come and hold their hand or kiss their loved one, they're not running the risk of getting any bacteria from them.
She saw her first body during a work experience day and was hooked.
Yeah, I was just totally fascinated, and went home and couldn't stop talking about it. It was just, I didn't want to go home. I loved it.
And these liquids are dyed? That's to help the look?
Yes. So this one's quite a dark colour in here, but through the skin it comes through as quite a natural sort of blood replacement colour. So you get natural colour coming through into the hands and through into the face as well. It mixes all the chemical through, and then once I insert my cannula onto the end and insert the cannula into the deceased, then it basically acts like a heart and it will pump the fluid in through the arterial system. So you're not actually removing all of the blood, you're removing some of it.
Then there are the tools of the trade.
These are some of our forceps, different sizes for different purposes. When I'm cleaning out mouths and that sort of thing, you know, I'd like a little pair. The angled ones I use to drain from the vein, so when I'm draining the blood, then I can use the angular forceps.
How do your family feel about your job?
They're less embarrassed of me being an embalmer than they were of me being a Weight Watchers leader. So if there was a lot of pressure and someone was having some of the fluid, was just being forced to come into the throat, then you can use the nasal aspirator to remove that.
They might be used to it, but for you or I, some of what goes on in there can be a little uncomfortable. So what sort of people are attracted to this job? You'd be surprised.
My friends think I'm a giant weirdo, but they still love me, hopefully.
It was actually advertised in the paper, and I thought, I'm going to do this. So, yeah, I just went for it, and here I am.
I used to be in the army.
Mum's not surprised at all. I used to be into, all the horror movies and things like that. So she knew I was going to do something morbid.
Wellington's Welltech has the only tertiary embalming and funeral direction courses in the country. These 6 are the current embalming intake, all with at least a year's experience in the industry.
We do require people to have a degree of experience before they come along the program. They really need to know that being a funeral director or being an embalmer is for them.
After all, it's clearly not a job suited to everyone. Even those on the course have aspects they're less enthusiastic about.
One of mine would be cleaning up fingernails.
I'm really crap at doing ladies' hair.
Sort of looking after people's mouths is something I don't enjoy.
Smells really get to me.
It wouldn't faze me if they came into the mortuary in a few different bags, but it's the boogers, yeah.
I know you don't like cleaning out mouths. Mine's vomit.
Meet the Taylor sisters.
I can handle decomposition, I can handle maggots, but I don't like vomit.
Mel saw an ad in the paper and followed her sister into embalming.
Occasionally she'll have a case that's very interesting and it's like, oh, wow, hear it on the news or something. Did you get it? Did you get to hear of what's happening or whatever? So it's nice to be able to share stories with someone who understands where you're coming from.
There might be a stereotypical image of the stoic older male, but like many historically male industries, that's changing. Just look at these two, mid-20s, female, and obsessed with the job.
And that starts the moment you walk into the mortuary. You just think about them. You're not thinking about anything else or anyone else at that stage. Thinking about the family, and their viewing really comes into it when you're doing the cosmetics. But up until that point, you just focus on who was with you in that mortuary. And the cosmetics is just, it's the perfection at the end.
Sarah seems pretty relaxed about all this now, but this is an emotion-filled industry, especially when you're coming into it so young.
I actually left the industry at one point because I felt like I was becoming depressed, because when I see grieving people, it just makes me so upset. I put myself in their situation and I think, if that was my relative, or my brother or my father, or, it's just, you just have to be able to remove yourself. And that's what I wasn't able to do in the past, which I now have. Obviously, I think it's just maturity. I've grown up and now I can remove myself from work.
As much as I can, I try to leave work at work because it would kill you. You're so emotionally involved in these people that if you don't have the ability to switch it off, then you'll go insane.
So when you get them, it's like what, like a kit set kind of thing, or?
Basically, we receive a shell. We put in the side sets and the trims ourselves, and then when someone's ready, we finish tweaking. So in this case, we have lovely mattresses that we then put in.
Have you planned your own funeral?
No, because I actually believe that funerals are for the living. Not to say there isn't the odd song I like that's like, I'd like that played at my funeral. And I have picked a casket I like.
It's something that, being a funeral professional, I should probably look into. But no, not really, other than the generic funeral song.
Which is?
Pink Floyd, Learning to Fly.
What something about Pink Floyd? Has it been used before? Has it?
Frank Sinatra's My Way is common. There's
Learning to Fly or something like that? Yeah. It's just, quite dramatic.
Oh, what's her name? Time to Say Goodbye by... I'm going to have to rewind this one.
I wouldn't be bothered if they flush me down the toilet, because it's, I'm dead.
How does it go? Sing me a line.
Time to say goodbye. It's the blind guy.
Oh.
Andre.
Bocelli.
Yeah.
I think it would have to actually be like a collage. You're going to get Britney and Spice Girls. I'd want all my friends on it. They would be so unhappy about that.
It certainly won't be the normal time to say goodbye. Andrea Bocelli and Sarah Brightman. That's a very used one.
After seeing so many lives cut